Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is TheJackSilkstone. We are here at Thorpe Park Fright Nights and we're heading into the brand new maze Creek Massacre for a behind the scenes tour. Let's go.
This, obviously you've seen this is the pre-show
to
Creek Massacre. So as we go along, I'll try and give you some hints and some cool facts whilst making this maze. So the first thing that I'm looking at is that in the family photo frames, which you probably don't see as much in the maze, is the management team.
Yeah.
So we did a photo shoot back in August, like 3-4 months ago now. And these were some selfies that we took whilst waiting to have our photos taken. So we thought it'd be really cool to implement the management team into that. Just little Easter eggs of management team or previous mazes.
Same on the CV.
This is my CV, it's not my actual CV, but my face is on the CV. And the company that built this maze found my headshot online.
Oh, man.
And then put it in there, and I came in one day and they all just sat here. I was like, oh, there's my face and my full name. But yeah, my experience says surgical centre. Definitely haven't done that. But yeah, this is the pre-show. Obviously you've been through the attraction, so you would have heard the announcement halfway through the pre-show where the brother of the baby buckwheat who's in here gets told that they have to get the workers to hurry up and get to work. So the trigger button for that is here.
Am I right in thinking that used to be
Yes,
over there?
So it used to be here,
Okay.
and then as we got busier, we needed to ensure that all the guests could have a full experience, and we were taking a lot of time to get to the button, so we thought we'd save time, so we moved it halfway through the run. So that helped a lot, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but every group, when you're trying to get round the table and climb over things and then press the button, then get back round and usher guests through either the tunnel, the rotten wood or the good wood, is quite long. When you add all that time up, you probably spend about 10 minutes every hour doing that, roughly. So we decided to move it, so it's literally just here. So the idea is that the actor leans on this, was looking for something, and they press the button, the announcement comes through, and then that's their signal to send the guest through. So you've got two routes. Have you been down both of them?
Many times.
Many times. So you've got the rotten wood. So the idea of the rotten wood was that the guest is a piece of wood, you're a tree. You either get taken down the rotten wood way and you're put on the conveyor belt, or you get taken through to the good wood. So the whole premise of this maze is that you're a piece of wood and you follow the tree process. But the buckwheats are bored with trees and they just want people now. So yes, rotten wood, again, cool space, cool tunnel. We haven't had a cool space in a while here at Thorpe Park, probably not since my bloody Valentine. And we felt like we needed to get that part of the experience back again, splitting people up and also making sure that we put in different dynamics and it's not just a walk-through attraction. So rotten wood, so again you're on a conveyor belt and you get taken through, so you go up and then down, and the idea is that you're a piece of wood that follows that process as well. And then the good wood way, which is where you can walk through. So the majority of the group get taken through to Goodwood because it's quicker for guests to walk through, whereas going through a crawl space takes about another 30 seconds. So we put a few people in this one, and then we put most people through Goodwood. Again, when splitting people up, we look at who's the most confident in the group, who has been laughing along. You kind of tend to gauge the customers as soon as they come in. So you can tell those who are nervous, you're probably not going to send them down here, just to let them ease in a little bit.
You're not pure evil.
Not pure evil.
Try and be nice.
We do try and be tactful about it. So yeah, you've got your two ways, and then here, you've got two doors here, which are your actors' runs. So this is one way that the actors can access the pre-show, and that was something that we really focused on this year, was how can the actors get around the mazes. We've worked in mazes or built mazes before where that hasn't necessarily been at the top of the agenda when we've made mazes, so then it's been really difficult for actors to get in and out of spaces.
The easier it is, the busier it feels.
And also with again, from an operational point of view, your actors need to get back from breaks. So how quickly can they get into the rooms? What you don't want is someone being on break late because they've had to wait for the actor to relieve them and it's taken them 5 minutes to follow a group to get around the maze. So we had to think of all that stuff as well, and this maze is purely designed to make sure that even if we were on a smaller cast, people could get in and out everywhere, so you feel like it's full of actors no matter how many people are actually in here working. So you got 2 routes, and then you got the 2 actors run. So
we have just a look in there.
Yeah. So you got your crawl space here. So that's where all the guests go, up and down there, and they come out the other side. So the actors will be either this side, or they'll mainly be that side, to be fair, and there's little grab holes either side where they can say some lines through, add to the experience, and yeah, just make them feel like they're being chased even though they're in the tunnel, in the crawl space still. So you have 2 actors runs either side, but it's essentially a big room with the crawl space in the middle, and that's what it is.
That makes the crawl space look so big.
Yeah.
Wow, it looks huge.
It is pretty big. When you think about how much space is in this maze, and then when you are in there, it's crazy.
And where we are now used to be the queue line.
The queue line, so you can see here on the barriers that this used to be the queue line. So I'll point out parts of the building as we go around, but this was the queue line, and as you probably know, none of these walls were here. The beams were here. All the beams in this building are the original beams because they hold up the structure to the roof. So we built around it, made some amendments, but I had to then think about the building and the technical construction side of it. Yes, so you've got 2 corridors, so you then go through Goodwood, which you then go through here, and the idea is that you're going down the first corridor of the sawmill. So this is where you start to realise that things aren't quite right. You can hear workers in the background, you can hear the chainsaws, you can smell the rust. There's missing posters of people, and these are actually they're drop down panels, but they're push up panels technically.
Okay.
So the act on the other side will push them up.
I never knew these ones did that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So the big ones do this, and then what you do is you just drop them and they make a massive noise. So.
Are there any other Easter eggs down here in terms of
Easter eggs?
things?
So we have our divisional director Helen. So she is in charge of the park, and she is on one of our missing posters. She's actually not missing. I've seen her. She is here. But yeah, so you'll see some of the posters have some familiar faces on as well. Some of them are people that aren't involved in the management team or in the creative process at all. But again, there are some Easter eggs. Again, this was all queue line for loggers. And then, fun fact about these bulkheads. So when putting these lights in, what we did with the creative process was think, okay, what's the mill going to look like? You don't want to just put a light in it and go, it's lit. You want to understand, why is that certain light there? What is it meant to do? What feeling is it supposed to give? So everything in this maze has been thought of in that way. The music, the lighting, the smells, the flow of the attraction. So these lights came in clear, and then we got some dirty down spray and then sprayed them to look rusty because it was then too bright in this corridor. So all of the lights have got that. You can see on here, they actually don't come in that colour. We've just got sprays and sprayed them. Yeah, and that's the thing, like when you go through a maze, you're in there for 5 to 10 minutes and you see all this stuff, but you don't think of the amount of detail.
Well, literally every time we
it.
did it, we'd spot something else.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
The wooden panels up here, so originally the wood went up to here, and then we realised that, well, we knew anyway, but we realised how much of a light bleed there was in here, so we had to factor that in. You're supposed to be immersed into an attraction. You don't want to know of anything from the outside world. We want to bring you into this world and you be so immersed in it that you forget that you've stepped into it, and it's kind of set up. You want it to be believable, so we had to think about that as well. And then this corridor just goes down and around the corner, and this is where your Goodwood would go, and then you go through your rollers. So there's 2 rollers. There's one here and there's one for the guests coming out of the crawl space as well, so they both get that experience. Originally, when the first plan of this was made, there was meant to be just one roller at the end, but both would meet at the same time. So this corridor would stop here,
okay,
and there would be a crawl space, and then we'd merge together and there'd be one roller. However, for throughputs, making sure that every guest is coming through with enough time, with the amount of people that want to experience this attraction throughout the day, we get really busy. So we decided to make 2 versions of it. the guests get to go through both ways. They both get to go through the rollers as if they're being debarked, so as if the skin is coming off. And yeah, you get both of them. This door here is for wheelchair access, so we wanted to make it obviously accessible for wheelchair users. So all wheelchair users go through Goodwood, and then what we do is we just notify the actor, and then they open up this door, go through this way, and then they can come through this part of the attraction. So the only thing that they miss out is the rollers. That's the only thing that they miss out.
That's really good. Like,
So yeah. Yeah, so we have to think about
Good.
that, and wheelchair users have to have legally 1.2, or that's the size that's recommended. So we have to make sure that that corridor was 1.2, so there was enough space for them to feel comfortable coming down, that they could experience it without feeling like they couldn't manoeuvre around the corners. So we had to factor all of that in as well, which is why you've got enough space here to move existing guests coming through and ensure that a wheelchair user gets the best experience coming through. Again, you then come into the debarking area. So this is where you would debark the trees. You'd skin the bark off. Again, going through the same process, but you're a person, you're human. And again, some missing posters, but as you can see, through wear and tear, these have come off. But it adds to the feel as well. This is quite an intense maze, as you've seen. It gets hot in here. These tend to get a little bit, they tend to peel a little bit in the heat. So there's been a couple of times where we've re-added them on, and we'll look into getting these replenished as well. So mazes have wear and tear. The amount of people that come through, you have about 10,000 people come through a day. And then the actors are running around an hour and a half at a time and then coming back and doing it again, so things do have a lifespan. What we do is we look into making sure that we can prolong things being ripped and torn and broken, and we have someone on site who purely looks after that part of Fright Nights, which is Jim. He makes sure that everything that is potentially broken or damaged, he then fixes the next day. So you've got your rollers here. Again, pieces of hair have been added into them, as if hair and flesh has been torn off. And then what we do is we put conditioner in these to make sure that they feel really greasy and horrible when guests go through. Yeah, it's quite grim. That's the point of it. Cool, so you've got a balcony here. You can access this at the top end of the maze as well, so actors can be up there and then they can be seen at the top here as well.
It's quite daunting seeing them high up.
And again, that brings in dynamics. You've got the crawl space and then you've got up the top here. So as a guest, you come in and you've just come through these rollers, and you tend to see a lot of guests like doing this because they can't see, and then suddenly someone is there just leaning over you. Again, it's daunting, it's overwhelming, and again, gets the height in as well. Guests don't think people are going to be higher than them or on the floor, and it freaks them out. So again, adding the dynamic. And then we go into debarking. So there's 3 rooms here. So these rooms originally weren't in the first plan. This is something that we looked into utilising the space better, because originally you were then meant to go straight into the blade room, but we want to make sure guests who are queuing up for a long time get a long experience, or the longest experience possible. So we have 3 rooms, which is good wood, bad wood, and then we have ugly wood. Just a tongue in cheek because the buckwheats are a bit freaky. So that idea came from one day where I went, or maybe it's like good, bad and ugly, or something like that, and I was like, oh, that actually works. So we've got good wood here. These signs were handmade for us, so good wood, you've then got bad wood, and then round the corner here you've got ugly wood. It just, again, utilises the space better. You've then got little crawl holes for our actors to get through.
Really narrow, aren't
they? Are really narrow. It's because the structure of the building, or of these flats, if you were to make it any wider, it would interfere with that, and then make these not as stable as they could be or need to be. So they are quite narrow, but we did test other people going through these, making sure we could go through. So the idea is that, again, you could have 1 or 2 people work in this corridor and you'd see like 3 people. So you literally just pop through there, and then you're on the other side, and equally you could be on the other side and then pop out here for the next group as well.
Even just looking up, there's so many like...
Are these like drop downs as well?
These are ones. So these ones, I'll show you.
I did not know that.
So yeah, it's just a block of wood that you push up and down, and the idea is that you can shout out in character.
Yeah.
Put your arm out. You always put your arm out where the guests are going. Okay. So if I was to put my arm out now,
Imi told us about this, didn't she?
Oh,
It's a nightmare. Yeah.
yeah, if they smack it, you then,
Yeah.
or they brush into you,
crazy.
you then move and you haven't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do this and someone pulls into you, you're going to go like
Yeah.
that and hurt yourself. So there's
horrible.
little things like that the actors always have to think about. But yes, this is another push-up panel. They're called drop-down panels, but we'll call them push-up for this.
That's cool.
That's so cool. I remember Big Top used to have those.
Yeah, they have massive ones. They used to be like A1 size, the big top ones. And then if you carry on through here, again you've got some crawl holes or pop out areas. Again, this is the crawl space tunnel, and we've got things like doors and hatches in here, so if anything happened or we needed to evacuate, we could get the guests out.
Okay.
So we have to think of all that stuff as well,
Pretty cool.
from a health and safety and well-being point of view, looking after everyone. We can have quick access to that. Of course, then you go around here and you've got bad wood. So here you've got jars, different pieces of skin, and it's actually got vinegar in them, not water, because water evaporates, and vinegar preserves the items that are in there. So the idea is that you start to see the process, the good wood, you then see the bad wood, you start to see things like oil, axes, body parts, a full blown body, and then you go around to ugly wood, which is like the actual skinning process, and it's just a bit weird and uncomfortable. So you've then got ugly wood, which is here again, crawl space or pop hole. There you go. Then you go through here, and then you've got these, which are that you dry your car with these
Okay.
chamois. So when they're wet, they're really, really
Always
horrible.
seem to be wet as well.
So chamois are meant to absorb a lot of water. So we have to dip them in a lot of water for them to stay wet, because the idea is that they're supposed to retain the water. So someone comes round every morning or before we open and dunk these in water. So the idea is that it feels really grim in here, uncomfortable to see, uncomfortable to touch. So if
Yeah.
a guest walks past and their face brushes past it, it's not going to be very nice at all. And then we've got the tartan theme, because that's what the buckwheats wear when they're at work. They've all got tartan shirts. They're either black and white, yellow and red checkered ones. And then they all wear dungarees or jeans and caps. What we wanted to do was make sure that we've got a clear definition of them being lumberjacks and not hillbillies. So we
Okay.
had hillbillies back in Cabin in the Woods, as you remember,
Yes.
and we've had them before in previous mazes, and we needed to make sure that this was different to that, and it wasn't just us moving those characters into here. So we had to think about the look, the makeup, their accents, what they say, to just make it its own brand. And then you've got, again, skinning process. So someone being hung up, and then you start to go around to the corner, to the blade room, which is where the main scene is. So the whole premise of this first half of the maze is that you've been brought into the sawmill, you're part of the team now, you're a new employee, and now you start to think that things are a bit weird.
Yeah.
You start to see some stuff, you're in the employee back of house area, you don't really like it. This is all mainly about the buckwheats and them as people and the area that they work in. And then when you go around the corner, it's all about the massacre. And oh my God, I'm now in this place, and I've gone quite far into this place where people are just being skinned and chopped up.
It's too late to leave.
It's definitely too late to leave. So we have a sensor here, which sets off an air cannon. So the sensors are here, and the air cannon's up there. But the thing is with air sensors is that it then, when actors are going up and down to check groups, it sets the air cannons off. So then the people up there think a group's coming, but it's not. It's like one of us walking round.
So
they all get ready, and then we're like, it's just me, it's fine. But we do encourage our actors to scare us when we're coming round. Sometimes when we're doing walk-arounds, we want to see the experience that the guests are seeing as well, so we can give performance feedback and stuff. So then you come up to the ramp.
Is there a reason for like these ropes, or is it just
I think
added theming?
here, it was added theming, but also we found that this space is meant to be going to your deathbed or taking you up to hell. So what does that look like? They've obviously been bagged up with ropes, as you've seen in the previous room. And the idea is that you start to see all of those materials around you. So the idea is that they're accessible enough to be used to bag you up. But again, added theme, and it just breaks it up. It's visually good. It means that you're looking at something, and then if an actor comes down here, they get you because you've been distracted. So yeah, so that's the main part. Again, the ramp had to be quite long, so that a wheelchair could.
And this was
Could use
built
it.
for this maze.
Yeah, so here, so where we are now in terms of the building, at the top there was the steps that used to go into the batching process for loggers.
Yeah.
So the steps were here originally, and then we've built a ramp on top of it. Again, had to have quite a big area to make sure that it wasn't too steep for a wheelchair user, because that would have been not a great experience for them. And also so we can put more guests through as well, so it gives more space for the actors to then run down here, and for them to be distracted as well. You then go into the blade room. This is where the carnage starts,
You know
if it
what?
hasn't already.
I've never looked up in here.
And these
I've never noticed
these
that.
cogs are from Saw Alive.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're from Pendulum.
Oh, Pendulum.
Yeah. So we grabbed them from Saw Alive,
Never noticed that.
and they're here. This is a fire exit. Obviously, part of building a maze is you have to make sure there's enough fire exits, routes, access points for all types of guests, and this just takes you out to the queue line. That takes you up there again, so it's crazy to think of how much you've seen in such a small space, but that's because we've thought about how do we utilise the space. And then you come into here, so here's the blade room. You've got a smell pot here, which we've got rotten flesh in this room, just to give the stench of people being torn apart and being chopped up with chainsaws and skinned alive and everything else that the buckwheats are doing. But this was added in. So here, if you can cast your time back to Logger's Leap, is where you would stand in your batching area.
Lines, wouldn't you?
So you would stand here, and where that floor starts, that's where the trough used to be.
Oh wow.
So you would
God.
stand here,
That's so weird.
and this would be where you'd get on your boats.
That's so strange.
Yeah.
That's weird as well, seeing into
Yeah,
there.
seeing through there.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
So yeah, you go onto the blade room.
Is there an actor space under here?
So yes, there's an
Presumably,
actor
'cause
space.
You used to have a actor headlight pop out.
Yeah, so sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't. Again, depends on being able to get the experience across. The idea is that there is an actor in here, they lie into this, they pop their head through, they've got like a bench and a bed under there, and they just sit in the body, and they can move their arm in there to give out the illusion that it is them, and when this is turned on, it's a blade rotating, and then we have a trigger button, which if you press, water ejects out of it to give the idea of blood being splattered everywhere, and it kicks off the blade noise as well, so we give that experience. But yeah, this is the body, so this is called the table saw, aka the blade room, but then you have some steps as well for the actor to be able to crawl into it. So this is
This
quite a
looks
big
really
room.
real, I think. Like, especially when it's dark, I think it looks really real.
Lighting does so much for mazes, and I know we all know that anyway, but when we were making this, I always said that until we've got actors in here and until all the lights are on and the sound's on, it will only feel 90% finished, or even less, 80%, but it all comes to life on the first dress run, and when you walk around that's when you go, oh, okay, everything's here now. So you'll never feel satisfied until you see it, and that is close to the mark, but you have to trust that process.
Yeah.
And yeah, the acting team bring it to life. It's
Big time, yeah.
dead without actors in here.
Amazing
So.
cast.
And then you go around here. So you've then got the wood guide. So the idea of this was that you've been chopped up, you were then going to be sorted into different types of wood. Whether, again, bad wood, good wood, usable, not usable. You go
Somehow
around
I've
the
never
corner.
seen that. I've never looked at it for some reason. I'm always too scared at this point, to be honest. Yeah,
This
fully.
Yeah, I mean, by this point we're hoping guests are running, so if they don't see this, I'm not going to be too offended, because it means that we're doing a good job. So this is where you see the first chainsaw,
Yeah.
is this wood guide area. And this used to be the old workshop for Loggers Leap. So this would be where the boats would be stored. So you would never see this as a guest if you're coming through Loggers Leap. This would be your platform, and then you'd get on the boat. So yeah. So you've got the wood guide. Again, this door is normally shut. It's a fire exit, but again, it helps with quick access for actors. Also, it's a fire exit, so if we had guests in here and there was something happening at the front of the attraction, we could just get them out this way. So again, you don't normally see this door, so you feel quite cornered when you come round this area. Again, we've got a hiding hole for actors here, where they can just jump out with an axe and chase people into this area. So then they're kind of being chased towards the chainsaw, so they feel quite cornered. Are
these from Ghost Train?
No, these are from Pendulum as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
From Saw Alive.
Sad.
So again, some Easter eggs. Bringing an old maze into the new one.
Yeah.
So in the lineup, Creep Freak replaced Saw with the whole gore theme, lots of blood. How can we get that intensity across in a new maze? So when we look at our lineup and our headliners, we tend to try and go, what trends are happening in the industry, what is missing from our lineup now we've lost X, Y, and Z, and what are people interested in at the moment. So yeah, so there's stuff that we think of.
Wow.
So you come around here, and then you go into the wood guide. Again, like I said, this was part of engineering workshop. So the idea is that you get either chased down by a chainsaw, depending on where you've come into the attraction, where the previous group has been. Sometimes you might see your chainsaw buckwheat here, sometimes you might see them around the corner, depends on the flow of the attraction. What we try to do is have them at the end, so the group coming down know it's coming, and then they run down this way. Then you kind of have to herd guests like your shepherd, like a sheepdog. You kind of have to run down here, and then chase them that way. So there's a lot of manoeuvring. Because if you chase them down here and just stop here, they're not going to move from that corner, and then you've got another group coming around, and then they see the chainsaw, then that gag's spoilt for them. So we have to do a lot of manoeuvring.
Were any of these walls like here already, or?
No, these walls were all built. All of these walls. Wow. So this one was, this one wasn't here. So this was all open, but these ones you can see the original ones.
Okay.
So this was
like
workshop.
A here, wasn't there?
Yeah. So this is where the engineers used to come in, and this is where the boats used to be stored.
Yeah.
Anything that needed fixing. But these walls were all added in.
Is this for the maze, or is it from when it was?
It's from when it was Loggers, yeah.
Oh,
so it adds to the theming. Again, we've stayed with the old town, sawmill, lumberjack theme. So we've tried to incorporate that in as well. All of these walls were built. These are grab holes. This is one of my favourite places to scare, because you've just been chased by a chainsaw. Guests coming through are running from the chainsaw. They're going to have their head down, and they don't expect someone to pop out here. We have got black tap or black material behind it, just to make sure that you can't see into the actors run, but with the lights off you don't see into it anyway, but it just gives it that extra layer in case. But now you go into the storeroom. So again, like the engineering storeroom, we have a storeroom where we store all our bodies. Of course, every mill has one. So you come into here, and the idea is that this is where the bodies are hung. You've got a platform here, again, bringing up the levels in the attraction, so you can see the buckwheats or the victims of the sawmill, either up high or below you. As a guest, you've done different levels as well. You've crawled, you've been chased, you've run. You might get taken out onto the balcony as well. We'll go on to that in a second. But these are all the bodies.
What actually are they?
They are polystyrene.
Oh wow. They are quite heavy, aren't they?
Yeah. They're polystyrene, but we tested them when we opened the attraction as well, or beforehand, just making sure that they were safe and making sure that they weren't too heavy. What we wanted to give the feel of was that they were actual people. There were bodies in there. Of course, bodies hanging up are going to be heavy, so you want to be able to give that illusion. And gaffer tape as well. Some of them have got rope, as you can see up there. They've been hung up with some rope, but the buckwheats just use what they can. You know, they're not precious about what they use. There is then an actor's step up here. Again, Brings the dynamic of height. Actors can be up here. It's quite intimidating if I'm here like screaming at you or telling you to get to work, or you know, doing what the buckwheats do best, which is make people feel really intimidated and uncomfortable. So then the guests would come around here, and the idea is that they wade through the bodies that have been hung up. Again, fire exit, this goes into the blade room, but as a guest you would come round, and yeah, you would assume that the only way is that way. So you then go down here, which is then the drying ovens. So the idea is that the wood it's in the drying oven, they're drying off. So we wanted to give the feel of it being industrial, that you are going into an oven, it's going to be really hot. So you make your way down here, and then we've got actors corridor. You know where we saw the meat flaps?
Yeah.
Where I said it was a great place to scare? This is on the other side of that. So actors can pop out here. Again, nice little surprises for our guests, they don't expect it. And then if you come out here, we've then got a balcony with a step which is to the front of the maze. Which is great. So as an actor you can see the guests coming through here, but what you can do is bring some guests onto here to view this as well, so you get that experience. The idea is that once you're in the sawmill you are disposable to the buckwheats, so they want to bring you on here to see the new workers coming in.
Yeah. I feel like with cabin you obviously had the control room.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like the hidden
kind
of
it's
area.
the hidden gem. Not everyone gets to go through this. We tend to do it every couple of groups, again for flow, and when you're out here giving an experience with guests, you're then got someone in there making sure that the guests are there and being scared.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the balcony area. So if anything happens and they see anything, they'll hit the stop as well. So these are all around the attraction as well. We've got quite a few of them in here. And then you go around here into the drying ovens. Again, the industrial feel. We have these heaters on which make it feel hot. We have lights on the grids that apply from underneath. So again, you feel like you're in a drying oven. And this is a look into the actors run. So on the inside is the storeroom with the bodies. So it's literally just, you literally do a circle, but there's a bit in the middle that the actors can utilise. So if you're in here, you can pop out here, you can be on the balcony, you can get the same group like 4 or 5 times. It's so good. And it's also really satisfying as a scare actor to be able to do that, because the guests don't know you're the same person. You then come through, these heaters are always on, and then when you come into here, you've got final grading. So again, this is where, as a piece of wood or as a tree, you get decided into good wood or bad wood. Again, we follow that all wheelchair users go through good wood, so they go this way, and then bad wood goes this way. So there are 2 routes. I'm sure as you've experienced, you've gone both ways. And it's into the strobe part of the attraction, as you can see through here.
It's so strange seeing it.
So it's actually, when you look at it, it's a lot smaller than probably what you imagine, because you're in here lost. We roofed this.
It's a lot tighter than it.
Yeah.
Feels.
When you have the lights on and if you know the space really well. But you're literally standing in the trough right now. So this has all been filled in.
Oh man.
Sleep. This here is the old log asleep console. So this is where they would sit. And then we roofed in the strobe maze to give the strobe cloth the bounce off to make it stronger in here. Otherwise it would have bled into the first half of the attraction as well.
That's clever.
So yeah. Cool, and then you go around here. These are original pieces from loggers that just stayed up. We just kept them here. Not taking them down. We might have moved them slightly, but they're on the same walls.
Yeah.
And here is a dead end. So if you've been a guest and you come around here, the whole point is that you get lost in here, and then you see an area here. You come in here and you're just lost, which I've seen quite a few times. And then you have someone with a chainsaw here. We wanted to get the chainsaw gag again. Most people think when they've seen a chainsaw, that's it, they've seen it. But the idea is that we keep hitting you with it in here. You then go around the corner, so then everyone will come back together here. And then you've got the final cut, which is the last room. So you go around here. Originally, this was, we didn't have this part on here. This is a back of house area. But as a guest, if I've been told to go through black tap visually all the way through, and then I get to this point and I see black tap and I'm here, I'm going to think I want to go through there, right? I'm not going to look to my right and go, that's where I'm supposed to go. So we pop this in so you can move it.
Okay.
So you're looking at it from a guest point of view, you wouldn't go in there because you physically can't, but for actors, we can move it and get in and out.
Yeah.
And that just takes us to the back of house area. And then guests
all
will
of
go
this
around here.
like ventilation for like the fumes and stuff.
Yeah, for the chainsaws. So we have 3 chainsaws in here. All the fuel that we use is safe for the purpose that we use it. The chainsaws have been modified as well for the purpose of the attraction. But yeah, we need to make sure that there's fresh air in here and that the fumes in here don't affect anyone, guests and staff working in here. So yeah, all of that is ventilation. And then you come through here, and then this is the exit. So as you can see, we've got our chainsaws. So we have about 9 chainsaws. Obviously we go with the premise of 1 in use, 1 spare and 1 empty. So for every chainsaw that you have in the show, you have to have 2 spare for. So we have 9. So what we tend to do, if one runs out of fuel, we'll just pop that down, grab the next one, got one ready, and then we'll call through and our technical team will come and refuel them for us whilst we're still doing the show. Yeah. What you don't want to do is get to the point where you have no chainsaws in here. I mean, there's 3 going at one time, so if you do get to that point, you can then borrow from different points, but we never ever get to that point. Yeah. And if it does get to that point, then how have we not heard about it before? But it's never got to that point. In this run, we have plenty here that we make sure is fueled up at the start of the day. But yeah, we go through.
Hold one to see how heavy it is.
You can hold it if you hold it there.
It's quite heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, they're really heavy. And we always make sure that the actors are all trained on them before they go into the attraction with them. So if you're not chainsaw trained, you're not allowed to be on it. But yeah. There you go.
That's cool.
Classic. So what was this before?
So this was the Pixel area.
Sure.
So this is where you got your photos. So yeah, you'd come off the boat. You would then.
The counter was there.
Yeah, counters were here. All the screens used to be here. So yeah, you would literally get off your boat out there, and then you'd come into here, and then you would just leave this way. So this cage isn't normally here, this cage is here in the run, but what we do is pop it there just while the attraction's closed. And then what we'll do is in a couple of hours time or a few hours when we open, we'll just move it back to here. As you can see,
fence added in?
Yes, so it wasn't here in the first weekend. Yeah. It was added in because...
So I remember the first time I did it, I ran into it because I wasn't expecting
Oh, did you? So yeah, it wasn't here, but what we did was we noticed that a lot of guests were, obviously, as a guest, if you see a chainsaw, you're going to run and see the door and get out, but we wanted to navigate them a little bit further into the carnage and then have a clear run out for them. What we had was a lot of guests coming out of here and then just running out there, and by that point they've seen the chainsaw and it doesn't give time, and they just miss it. I mean, they're still running out scared, so they still had a great experience, but at the same time you want to navigate them into it where they have nowhere else to run but away from it. Yeah, and then obviously that's the exit. So the idea of these cages is that you've collected all the clothing off of your victims and their shoes, and they've just piled them all up like you've disposed of them.
Is there any Easter eggs in there, or is it just like totally random?
There are probably some dresses in there from previous mazes, but I don't think there's any specific Easter eggs that would be prominent enough. But yeah, guests then run out of here, and then behind here is an actor's run. Again, how do the actors access the building? The only door in at the moment is the pre-show door, and you don't want your characters coming in sight of queue line guests before. It kind of ruins the illusion. So they all come in this way. They'll then wait until the group has come through, and then they'll pop out here, and then they'll and then they go through the back of house area that I showed you with the chain link fencing, and then they make their way to the front of the maze. So it's really accessible for them, really actor friendly, which is something that we're really proud of. It means that the actors are able to do their job effectively, there's no reason why they can't get to one point in the maze to the other if they're asked to do so, and also it means that the guests might see them 2 or 3 times and they don't actually know it. Although you do have guests go, I just saw you. You do hear that quite a lot. Oh, you again, hello. You hear that quite a lot, but it's great because it means that they are looking at you and they're picking up on your makeup and noticing your uniqueness about your character and your makeup that you've put the effort into that day, which is great. And then you come out of here.
Thank you.
And then yeah, this is the exit.
This is where I've ran down many times.
Yeah. We needed to pad this. This was a beam. Obviously, if you're guests and you're running, it was one of the things I brought up straight away. If you're guests and running,
You're just trying to get out.
You're just trying to get out. And if you run into this, it's going to hurt you. So this is why this is padded, just to make sure that it's safe for guests. But yeah, the idea is that you run straight down that way, out of the attraction. But what's really great is that people walking past can see people exiting
that's
this
what you
maze.
said.
I could sit there for ages and just watch it.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to recreate, was that excitement, that wow moment, but also people who don't necessarily want to go in the attractions,
They can still
enjoy it. Yeah. And people do stand here and watch. Some people grab some drinks, then they go and sit on the picnic benches over there, and they watch. They get a feel of the atmosphere and the attraction without actually going into it. But it's all within that building. We've built within the building, but we haven't had to extend the building as such. But yeah, that's it. I thought of one more Easter egg that I forgot to show you, but I can show you in the pre-show. We can walk back round and I'll show you. This one. So here is the buckwheat way, the employee values. Obviously we work for Merlin, so we have Merlin values. So something I brought up in one of the meetings about what does the pre-show look like, the reception area where you sign up to work. I said we should have a buckwheat version of the Merlin way. So we have different values that we all work towards and goals whilst working for the company. So we did a buckwheat way. The buckwheat way, employee values, people make the difference, relentless in the pursuit of customer employee excellence, right results, right way. So it's quite tongue-in-cheek. And yeah, Creekwood Sawmill. This radio here, actually you can hear a song playing on the radio. It's not a track on one of our attraction speakers. It's actually been wired into the radio. So the radio plays the tune. It's not set up separately, it's all part of the control system and the programming, but I think it's really cool that this and the lights are actually turned on to go with the show. And the radio tunes in and out every so often and you get that song, but the idea is that you've walked into their workspace and that's what you get. You've got the shirts hanging up and the hats, and yeah, that's it really.
So I just want to say thank you for designing this and showing us around.
No, you're welcome.
It's literally one of the best mazes we've done in years. So
For sure.
Good to hear. And obviously it's in its first year, so it'll only grow.
You're gonna get better,
As I said previously when we were walking over, is that quite opening a maze for the first time is really challenging because you don't know how your guests are going to respond. You don't know what is the favourite part of it. You don't know what people are not going to buy into as much until you actually get guests through. And it is a long process. It's not, oh, it's open on the first day, we're open now. It's a continuous process. Even till this weekend, it's the 8th of November, but we're still opening to guests coming round, so we'll still work on things today. We'll walk around the maze at 2 o'clock and make sure that everything is working. Just because it's one of the last few days doesn't mean to say that the excellence shouldn't be there, and the quality and the attention to detail. And then we'll just start working on it for next year and going, okay, what can we add this year that's different, or what layers can we give it? But it's performed so well for its first year, and the team in here are the team that smash it every day.
Brilliant,
yeah, they're great.
Crazy. They were crazy.
That's why they're in here.
It's great.
Because they're crazy. But yeah, all good. It's great.
So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed seeing within the brand new maze, Creek Massacre. Just want to say a massive thank you to Steph and the team at Thorpe Park for letting us come down here, and obviously Steph talked us through the whole maze. She literally designed this whole thing, so she was so knowledgeable about it, and it was just so cool hearing all of her cool Easter eggs and stuff. And yeah, thank you to Kieran, who is currently on the visuals as always. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, be sure to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. My name is TheJackSilkstone. Goodbye.